Hey, howdy ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions podcast, episode 280. This is the official Detroit Lions podcast for Reddit. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is my good friend and co-host, Case. How you doing, man? Welcome back.
I'm good, man. I've been watching Rocky a lot lately.
Oh, yeah.
Just practicing.
Okay. You got the look going. That's nice. I'm happy that it's football season. All right, we'll talk about the show today. We got a lot of stuff coming up. We're going to talk about the 53-man and, of course, the practice squad. We got a breakdown of that squad in a couple places, but Chris might have been wrong. We're going to talk about what home field advantage means in COVID, what it could mean as the season goes on and things maybe change. Season predictions. We're going to do a preview around the division. We got so much going on. You do not want to miss this show. It's a great show. Case, are you ready to go, my man?
Adrian!
Oh, for God's sake.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, a couple of quick announcements first. Check us out and help us out on the Patreon. Very special thanks to Dylan from
Wham!
And, of course, our very first donor, Mathis. Also, Brian Burkheiser from I Prevail, iprevailband.com. If you didn't see the new video yet, Case, go check it out. It's actually emotionally moving for a guy like me who doesn't care about much. It was really impressive. So check them out. I got a new video over there on YouTube. Also, all those guys we talk about and many more, Riz, Case, myself, Wisco Boiler, who's well known, renowned in the Wisconsin area for cutting floor joists, all hang out with. There's like 230 people on the Slack right now. How do you get there? Well, you go to patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast, set up a donation of at least $1 a month, and bingo, bango, wama lama bing bong, you will get access within like an hour or so to our Slack chat. It is a private chat for only Patreon users, and it's got all the other sports, baseball, not soccer, baseball, basketball, all that kind of stuff going on, hockey. And there's good conversations going on there, but the football chat, the Lions chat, the most intelligent football chat, not just Lions chat, football chat on the internet. I know a lot of places including where we started and got our name in with Reddit. Have great chat functionality, but you cannot. They all have that low bar of interaction sometimes. And Case, you tell me. We don't seem to have that. We have a really, really solid group of folks who, even when they disagree, walk away, holding the beer and buying each other the next round.
Yeah. No, I haven't seen any drama, which is nice. Because there's not a lot of places on the internet where you can go and not find drama.
Yeah. It is the best place for convo, man. It's a great place. Come join. All you got to do, patreon.com/Detroit Lions podcast, and join the fun. It's a great place. Give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast, Instagram, Detroit Lions Podcast. Follow us there. But don't miss us at the most important of all places, on Twitter, at DET Lions Podcast. Go get that follow thing going on at DET Lions Podcast. It is the very best place to see Case.
With no pants on.
Very good. Subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Subscribe to us, hit the bell, do all that stuff. We love it. We're cracking. I think we're just cracking 2,000 subscribers as we just started getting this going pretty decently on the YouTube here. So it feels good for folks to go. Remember, that's where all of the post-game shows will be. We'll do your live calls on the YouTube. So again, youtube.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get the subscriptions on there. We're looking for that 100,000 subscriber award. So if you haven't hit that button, where the hell are you? You are really wrecking our lives. So get that fixed for us. Fantasy football, Pro Pick'em is still open. That's going to close down shortly. I think Friday this week or Saturday, we will close that down. You won't get a chance. Big pool. The rest of the fantasy is full. Thank you so much, everybody who joined us. We will have some fun
kind
of
YouTube chat
updates.
Bouncing today.
Yeah, folks are going, baby. Let's see. We'll get to it real quick. Rate us iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeart, Pandora, wherever you find us. Give us those 5-star reviews, please. Those reviews are forever. You can't change it. If you say, hey, Case needs a nose job, and we go get him a new nose job, still two stars, even after it's all fake. So 5 stars we appreciate. If you got something you don't like, let us know in the subreddit. We will definitely address that with you. Community show, you own it. Feel free to give us feedback and help us change and be better. Lastly, give us a call via Skype at Detroit Lions Podcast. It's Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word. Or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS, 929-335-4667. Leave a message and get a chance to hear yourself on the show.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right, it's time to talk about all the fun and exciting things going down this week in Reddit. See how good I'm getting that now? That's just flowing off the tongue, Case. Heading into week 1. No stumbles. All real, all live. First thing I want to talk about is we've got a huge week of content coming for you guys. Today, Case and I, the two glory boys, we will be giving you this show, of course. Friday, there is a preview show ahead of the Bears game. It will be Riz, myself, and Tony Ortiz from 97.1. He will be joining us as well. We'll be doing a good pregame breakdown for you guys. That'll be at about 4:15 p.m. Eastern, and then it'll be available as a podcast as well. And then don't forget our first post-game show of the season coming up as the Lions spank the snot out of the Bears and send them packing to mommy with tears in their eyes. Is there any other outcome possible, Case?
I can't see one.
No. I mean, last time we thought that we got
I'm toast.
So we got a little too drunk. It was after that juxtaposition, but no, we got a good one.
Couldn't see one then either.
Got a great post game show coming, so make sure to join us. Sandman will be joining for that, and just maybe Case, depends on a couple of things that are he's got. A couple plates in the air there. We got to get that taken care of. So it will be good. Be me, Sandman at minimum, maybe the gorgeous.
I hope
Case.
I'll be there, but
yeah,
there's things out of my control. So
yep.
And actually, 4. No, those were the 3. Unless I'm, and then we also
an uncut
classic
showing how out of control those things are for Case. All right, let's talk about the big 53. We got our 53-man roster here. How weird is it to get the 53 right before the season starts like this with no preseason, no? It's really weird, Case. This is just a weird, like, massive cut and go.
I'm trying to remember if last year they didn't change the rules and didn't have to do all their cuts until last minute, so it also came kind of in a flood. But at the same time, we had a much better idea going in, or at least we thought we had a much better idea going into it just because we watched preseason. But this year, yeah, no, for sure, it was like, everybody had their guesses, but I don't think anybody. Although I will talk about one where there were some people who were pretty convinced about something, and I said I don't know, and I was right. So we're gonna get a little bit of classic mark your bingo cards while Case gloats kind of stuff today. So.
Gloaty Case is best case, actually. I enjoy it because it's always preceded by a precipitous fall, so that'll be good. Let's talk about the 53. Couple of big names and things going on here. The one I think that everybody's most familiar with, and it's the top of everybody's tongue, and it's actually the subject of let's see, who's going to get the most yards going on in the chat. That big question going on. I got to tell you, Adrian Peterson signed, and obviously he's going to be ready, and at 46 years old, he is going to be the number one rusher in the NFL. I think we can pin all our hopes and dreams for Super Bowl on Adrian's back, and I know you can't disagree with that, can you, Case?
I mean, I don't care who gets the ball, to be honest, as long as it works. I don't know. See, the problem with trying to make a prediction right now is that we've got two guys, one who's oft injured and the other who's currently injured. I don't know what the hell is going to shake out with this, but I do appreciate going back and actually looking at what Adrian Peterson has done the last couple of years. I'm not usually in favor of. Are we going into the AD? Is that our current topic right now?
Yeah, and that's
okay.
Let's start. Let me just start. This is one that's bothering me. AD versus AP, right? You want to say Adrian Peterson? It's just easier to write AP, right? And everybody knows what we're talking about.
I know he cares.
But his nickname is All Day. His dad gave it to him when he was young, right? And so AD's been kind of his nickname. And now I'm just flummoxed. I don't know what to call him. I know I just call him AD, and then I see people saying AP, and I don't know if I should be scoffing at them or not.
I don't think it matters. I also think that it sounded early on in his career like he cared about it, but I haven't heard him say anything about it in years and years and years. So I would imagine that he doesn't really care that much about it at this point either. It's like I get called Casey or Chase all the time, or Cash or any other number of, because nobody thinks the Case is a real name, or at least they didn't before Case Keenum came along. But I mean, if I got upset about it every day because somebody used the wrong thing, I'd be a very, very much more, I should say, angry man than I already am. So.
Well, maybe we can A/B test it. We got two suggestions in the chat. One is call him ADP. Mm-hmm. Because he's getting paid, right? And the other one is call him Little Petey. Which do you think he'd prefer?
Okay.
Probably ADP.
So my thought on bringing him in is, and you and I, we'll probably shy away from any of the.
I hear ADP is Cardi B's next song, but go ahead.
The controversial stuff. So I strictly looking at it from a pragmatic standpoint of what he brings to the team. I'm not usually for running backs of that age, but then again, we've seen those few guys, the Frank Gores, the Emmitt Smiths, the guys who are able to continue to produce later into their career. And considering the size of his contract, which was approximately $1 million, almost vet min, if it wasn't vet min for a guy his age, is not bad, especially having to put Bo on IR. And I think AP, we'll just call him Adrian, is probably a step above Bo. And I know we like Bo, and I don't mean to, talk bad about him, but I mean, you're still talking about a dude who's put up way more production behind a crap O-line the last 2 years than Bo probably ever could have. So
yeah. You mentioned Emmitt Smith, and I think about, and this is maybe just my memory, and it's soiled or sullied his rep. I mean, he did put a lot of years in, but God, Emmett Smith at Arizona. All I remember is it was horrible. It was like
yeah,
hanging
and I
up
mean
Emmett.
everybody's going to fall off eventually, and
And
this
I
may
don't
be the
want-
year that
I don't
AD
want-
finally falls off. So.
I don't want to be the Emmett Smith at Arizona with ADP at the Lions, right?
They can cut him at any time. So,
do we want to talk about the Cleveland Steamers? Odell's coming up in the chat, or do we just not want to dump on him?
nah, let's skip it. Sorry, guys.
Okay.
Keep to Lions today,
Okay.
or till we get to round the division anyway.
To slide a couple in there, that's good enough. All right, so yeah, what do you think? What do you think about his production? I mean, we haven't seen a lot of him. We saw him last year at Washington, and he looked good. If he falls off, this is the year he falls off, right? What was his yard per average? Like 4.3, 4.5 last year? That's pretty.
Well, and here's what I'll say: the things that he's best at are still like he's great at jump cuts. He's really good at taking on contact. He is not a speedster, so you're not likely to see him breaking massive runs. You might see him breaking solid, 15 to 20 runs, but he's not going to run away from the secondary of a defense. He's going to get tripped up. But we need somebody like that. Every team needs a power back, and he is a power back. At this point in his career, at one point in time, he was a 3-down back. He's never really been a great pass catcher, although he did catch some passes from Haskins last year. In screen game,
which automatically is pretty amazing if you were catching passes from Haskins. But go ahead. I'm
sorry, I lost audio on you for a sec.
Oh yeah, no, I was just ripping on Haskins' ability to throw a ball. I mean, you got to be pretty good if you're catching a pass from Haskins at this point.
Sorry, Chris, my audio on you dropped out completely.
All right. We'll keep going until you maybe can get it back. I apologize if there's it's working on my side, so it's got to be your new Bluetooth headset, my friend. Let's see. Now it looks like Case is completely.
There we go. Fixed it. Sorry, guys.
Okay. There he is. All right. Good. Let's see if we can get Case back video-wise now. Come on, Case.
Oh no, I didn't fully fix it.
Oh, Case. Let's see. Hold on. How's that? Is that better? No? Okay. We'll just keep going, and I'm going to
I hear you on a delay. Sorry, guys. I'll get it sorted out.
Okay, cool. All right, we'll keep going. We got Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to be a decent contributor. I don't know. If he drops off, he'll still just cannonball his ass through that line, and it'll be fine. We'll go with that, and run with it. Hey, you guys, just really quick, if you want to help support and fix Case's video, don't forget about the super chat on the chat down below. That helps make all this stuff get better. He got a new laptop now. We got to upgrade his internet, I think. All right, so we'll get going with that. Let's see. So we got that going on. Adrian Peterson. I think he's going to be decent. I like the idea of having him, but I like everything that sits behind him. So that's going to be really, really nice. Let's talk about quarterbacks. When we think about quarterbacks, what came up was the whole concept of there's a lot of people. Chris Burke.
I'm fully fixed, by the way. We're good.
No more children. Chris Burke, who was it? Kyle Meinke maybe as well, said that they were fully convinced the Lions were going to carry 3 quarterbacks in the roster this year, saying, "Oh, that's what they do." Case, to his credit, and let me just give him a little bit of love there. He said that they're going to carry 2, and last year was the only season they had 3. Case, where did you get this divine insight, and how are you so smart?
Well, I just didn't understand. First of all, I didn't understand why they were so convinced that we were going to keep 3. I mean, they were at training camp and we weren't, so they were seeing things from training camp perspective. But I think sometimes the training camp perspective can fool people too, because because they were giving Blau extra time to find out whether or not they were going to roster him. Is a completely different argument to whether or not they should have rostered him. There seems to be a misconception among a lot of Lions fans that the Lions always keep 3 quarterbacks. But in the Quinn era, last season was the only year in the Quinn era that they kept 3 quarterbacks on the roster. We've had other guys on the practice squad, but I mean, all that I think there was people concerned about Stafford's health. And it's not that I don't understand that, but they were able to get Blau back on the practice squad, which means that if Stafford does go down, and assuming nobody poaches Blau, which I think would be a little bit of a surprise if they did. There was a joke I saw going around that the Bears are going to do it just to get a heads up on the offense.
Only if Blau was a tight end.
Right. But to me, it seemed silly to keep 3 guys if you are convinced that Stafford is 100%. And to me, that is what this says, is that they're convinced that Stafford is 100%. And that's great news. I hope it stays that way, of course. But you paid all this money for a veteran backup quarterback. And as we talked briefly before the show, you could call that an overpay. Right?
Yeah.
But we were in a situation that was pretty dire last year, where both of our backup quarterbacks did not perform well. And I know Blau had his moments occasionally, but he most certainly wasn't winning games for us. And he most certainly, I definitely think that Chase Daniels, if you look at his record, while not phenomenal, he has a pretty good statistical record as a backup quarterback. His rating and the times when he's been able to step into games and perform decent.
Mm-hmm.
And there's several games last year that we probably could have won with that kind of production.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Blau just wasn't able to do it.
I think, and I'm seeing it in the chat, Blau was put on the protected list for week 1, which I think created a situation that we got him.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's nice. I want to go back and talk, Eric. I'll just say Eric. So I don't know if he wants to get dots out or not. He talks about a great point about the run game. Back on the Adrian Peterson piece, it's COVID season, right? It's a COVID season. I think the run game is critical early because the defense is going to be gassed in the fourth quarter in the first game to 3 games of the season, right? And we may see ADP do well in those first 3 games of the season and then fall off as a result of defenses getting more gas in the tank. It's a really interesting point. I mean, how much does that cardio work you do really prepare you until you play the game, right? It just seems like even you see in MMA and boxing and everywhere else, they do camp, right? They completely and are fully training for these fights, and then they're gassed during the fights, and at the ends you see the ones that go long, they're all just, I've seen them swinging just weak at the ends. And this is after tons and tons of training and cardio and everything else. I mean, you just put your whole body into it like that and it wears you down. This may well be a situation where we have some defenses that aren't up to snuff, and the run may be a very, very potent part of the NFL in the first couple weeks, first quarter of the season. It's a great point, Eric. Okay. I think that catches us up all in the chatty chat. Let's see. So yeah, Murphy, you thought the Bears were going to pick up Blau, so they had an NFL quarterback. No. They would not do that. They are foregoing the quarterback position for tight end this year. All right, so as we walk through TJ Hawkinson, we talked a little bit about Jesse James in the tight end position, and his words last week. Case, what do you think about Jesse James kind of taking ownership for last year? I mean, and the whole conversation that he's had with the coaches and the coaches have had with him, do you feel like he's going to be on the road to redemption this year, or is it going to be we saw the best we're going to get out of Jesse James so far?
I hate to bring up Eric Ebron, to be honest, but we've seen guys not react well to a bad season.
Mm-hmm.
And although Eric would always say, I got to work harder, as soon as the chips were down again, he, reacted
work harder.
Poorly. So it's better to hear it than to not hear it, or to hear something negative, like it was their fault that So, I mean, it's better. Whether or not it means anything in the long run, that's tough to tell. And of course, I want Jesse James. I want my redemption for Jesse James. So I want him to, perform more admirably this year. I want him to be a solid number 2. But at this point, I think he has to prove it to everybody.
Yeah.
So even the people who wanted him here in the first place.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're right. Let's see. We got Taylor Decker back. We talked about his deal. Great deal for the team. Great deal for him. I think that's really awesome that he went that way. Matt Nelson is his backup. Joe Dahl, Logan Stenberg. I love me some Stenberg. Jonah Jackson and Ode Abuche. Working at the right guard. Abushi was dropped and picked back up and signed. We'll talk about the practice squad piece. Was I wrong last week or not? I think it's just a situation of the more you know. The more you know. I was right, but it just took a little time to get there. Amendola Agnew in the slot. That's interesting.
That is really fun. I think everybody is a little bit shocked and taken aback by how quickly Agnew stepped into that role, and that's exciting, man. If you can end up with a player who manages to do something like that, to switch position that late in their career and thrive, man, you are both lucky, and you get to credit yourself for seeing that in them and building that in them.
Didn't Amendola and hasn't Edelman too? Haven't they done kick returns or punt returns along the way?
I believe, yeah. We had Amendola do a few last year, I think.
Yeah, throughout their career, right? So this is funny where you take guys that are those kind of skill positions and you put them to return kicks of some sort. And now we're taking a kick returner who tried to play safety for a little bit and turning him into a pass catcher, and he's been able to catch on. I'd love to see it.
I hope he's a better receiver than Devin Hester.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Or Fuller. Remember Corey Fuller? Oh, God, he was so fast. That was it. That's all he had. He
ran out of the building real quick.
He was a hell of a yeah, and he was run out quick. He was a hell of a track star. Yeah, no, this Agnew experiment, I really like it. Unfortunately, I really wish. This is a year with Agnew, especially, that I would have loved to seen him at training camp and really be able to study what he's doing. I feel a little blind because all I got is a couple of I don't want to say puff articles, but they feel puffy because they're all feel good and sound good about Agnew, right? I would have loved to seen what he did to see how much I kind of personally believe it. I want to believe, but it's just hard. It's hard to jump on it. But the team has made moves, most notably Huntley, which I was saving this for Riz because we gave him the horn when it was right and wrong. This one I'm going to go for me. Different horn, the trombone, the sad trombone. Only because I found out Riz used to play trombone in the marching band. So we'll talk about that next time we talk to him. That's going to be a fun one. Anyway, yeah, no, I was wrong about Huntley, and I think we'll dive into that. Running back, we got Carry-On, Adrian Peterson, Ty Johnson, and DeAndre Swift. That feels like a good core. DeAndre Swift, people are all up in arms that he's injury prone. He's not an injury prone guy. He was injured, and he could have gone if they were playing. I wouldn't worry about his injuries just yet. Carry-On, I would, just because we've got a history there. And Ty Johnson, this year's an opportunity for a breakout player of the year. You were high on him last year, Case.
Well, I just felt that we were lacking those speed players, and
I'm talking out of training camp. You wanted to watch him. You were stoked for Ty Johnson.
Oh yeah, and he looked good in training camp last year.
Yep.
So whether or not he'll build on what he did last year, I think he's got to prove it to everybody, including those of us like me who really want to see him succeed. So
yeah. Oh, we already shit on Odell there. Work your dollar. Sorry. Let's see. We want to talk about wide receivers, Galladay and Cephas.
I don't have much to say about Galladay. Everybody already knows.
Marvin Jones too.
Yeah, the only thing to talk about with Galladay right now is how much the contract of DeAndre Hopkins, how much that extension applies to Kenny. But DeAndre Hopkins is a clear tier above Kenny, and it's, again, I don't mean that as disrespect to Kenny. I think he's a very good wide receiver, but DeAndre Hopkins is a top 3 in the game, easy. And if we end up paying Galladay the same amount or more, which I've seen some people say for Galladay's extension, I would think that was a massive overpay. I would still like to see it somewhere. If it happens this, before the year or during the first few weeks here, and 16 range.
Yeah.
I still think that's a lot of money to
15,
pay a wide
16,
receiver,
yeah.
but I would understand it and be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's more than that, I'm gonna think, man, we're really limiting ourselves for the future by putting that much money down.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. And there's nothing I want to see more than Galladay completely do an Odell on our opinions in the offseason about his inability to get separation. That's going to be a thing. Doing Odell, I think that's. I think that's. I would love to see. Kenny just prove us all over wrong, because that's good for him, good for us, and the whole thing. It just hasn't been there. So there'll be no "I told you so's" on Kenny Galladay if he just has a little bit of a regression this year. It'll be a sad, darn it, we were right kind of a situation, but we're all hoping and cheering for him. So hopefully he can pull that together. Let's talk a little bit about Jamie Collins.
Well, I would quick on
ahead.
Cephas. I am very excited about Cephas at the moment. It's easy to fall into these traps in preseason when you start hearing such nice things, especially not having gone to training camp this year and not actually seeing him in person. But man, for him to go from that to what seemed like just boundless confidence all the way through training camp, because of how much he was impressing on a everyday basis in practice, there's a lot to want out of that. So I mean, he's the player that is real easy to hitch your wagon to at the moment and hope big things come early. Yeah,
and hearing Cephas giving Jeff Okudah some difficulties early on, that sounded good until Jeff Okudah's your second string cornerback. I think that's just for the start of the season. That will change as the time goes on and he gets some feet under him. Oruwariye doing so well. I really love the sound of where he's going, his growth. That's one, we've been watching, and this is the year. This is the year for him to make hay and show what he can be. And I think everything we saw the end of last year points to the fact that he can do that. Cephas is a dude, just hopefully that he can just step in and just kick some tail. I would absolutely love to see that. And it's been, I haven't heard a whole lot other, here and there about him, about just either dominating or stinking. I haven't heard either one of those things, so we will definitely check out and see where he lands on that. That'll be good to hear.
Boy, people really want us to talk about Odell Beckham right now.
We're not talking about that crap, boys. Let's talk about, there was some talk, someone who was a little less crappy wanted to talk about Jamie Collins. How do you think he's going to do this year, and what do we really need from him to succeed, Case?
I understand that's why some people are reticent about Jamie Collins, just because of his time at the Browns. And so when he wasn't with the Patriots, he didn't. But you got to balance that out with A, maybe a level of maturity he didn't have then, and B, that he is going into such a similar system, and that everything's looked great so far from him. So I have to have high expectations for him. And even if he isn't like an all-pro player, I still think it's tough to not see him being an improvement on what we had, because what we had wasn't good.
Yeah, the idea that we have someone that can actually cover like tight ends, because it's for the last 106 years of the Lions' existence, covering tight ends has been just an epic.
And that'll
fail.
Also be Taylor Decker. You know who I'm trying to say?
No,
the safety.
No idea. Tracy Walker.
Tracy Walker.
No
Thank
idea.
you.
Still no idea.
That'll be Tracy Walker's job this year, and I think he's also fairly good at that. Now that he can kind of commit to that type of a role, the strong safety role, more full time.
Yes. All right. I think that gets to the 53. Let's talk a little bit about. And before we get to the practice squad, I want to talk about CBD. The stuff that changes your life, helps you sleep, makes you look good, all the other stuff. I mean, look at the effects. It's beautiful. CBD.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Head on over there. Pick up anything you need if you've got any kind of muscle aches, body pains, all that kind of stuff. They've got CBD creams, which are just killer. for muscle aches or body pains. They got the CBD gummies. They got the oil, the whole nine ball, the whole ball of wax that'll take care of you with your body pains and aches and insomnia. I don't know if you can hear the thunder. It's booming pretty hard out there. All that stuff, rocking and rolling. And, when we started this whole thing about talking about CBD, it was my geriatric mother-in-law wanted to try it, and I didn't want her to get it ripped off or anything. So I said, I'll try it and I'll let you know, because I'm not super big into herbal stuff and all natural, the whole holistic or whatever the heck they call it, homeopathic thing. So I went and got it, and I was stunned at the effect and the power of it. It's legal in all 50 states. Great stuff. So if you want to try it out, if that's something you're looking for, head on over to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. That'll just let them know that we sent you. They give us a little kickback, and there's some great sales going on almost all the time. They have some bigger and better ones. I don't know if the Labor Day sales is hanging on still, but great stuff over there. Diamond CBD, those guys put out some really top quality stuff, and they're partnering with us for the post-game show. We'll have giveaways every post-game show for folks, so hang on to your hats, folks. We'll have some good CBD stuff. So they are big friends and partners of the show. Please patronize them for your CBD needs. cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Okay, practice squad. Let's get into that. I think the first thing I want to talk about before I kick my own ass is we held on to Mr. Saipas, a punter, on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel like a massive vote of confidence for Fox, does it? Even though we talked about he won the battle, they've been neck and neck the whole time. Jack Fox is sitting there, and he's got a guy that can come up any time, right, and take that spot. Is this a case where the Lions don't feel great about either of them?
I mean, I honestly have heard such little news about either of them that it's real tough to have a strong opinion. I don't know that we'll have an opinion at all until we've seen him punt. So good luck, Fox. I mean, I hope you're awesome, and I hope you're awesome enough. And no disrespect to Saipas, however it's pronounced.
Sopus.
No disrespect to him whatsoever, but in a perfect world, Fox clearly wins the job outright over the first couple weeks, and we can open up a practice squad spot. Although actually in a perfect world, Fox never has to punt. So
yeah. The real hard spot here, the other hard spot here is that you're following on a Sam Martin. God, why am my brain so slow? Well, if you're following on Sam Martin, and any kind of mistake you make is going to be magnified. You know how it is. It was just, the kickers we had after. Yeah. Hansen,
and even we've seen
horrible,
other teams in the last few years have to practice squad kickers too, and it always seems to be a sign of not good things going on.
Right, and it never gets better, no matter who you bring in, right? It doesn't seem to get better.
It is concerning.
So hopefully this is a case. I don't know why they're holding on to a practice squad spot. Maybe it's just the luxury of so many spots this year. We don't know. But so it is Mr. Fox in the house to handle the punting duties. Let's talk about the little bit of problem. Detroit fan man, sorry, you got me. That was funny. Next thing you're gonna tell me, we don't actually have to count to 10 before we try to rush. It's just a throwback, and a symptom of our bad rush last year. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is Huntley, our guy, my guy, the guy that I thought of him and said, you know what? It was my throwaway pick in the draft. I think it was the last one. I don't have any Lions. I'm going to grab Huntley because we got Bo, we got Carrion, we got Ty and Swift. I see Carrion getting hurt. I see Bo getting hurt. That means Huntley has a chance to play, get some time, and within 2 or 3 years in my Dynasty League, he may be just a sweet little pickup there, right? And then I had a Lion on the team. Made me feel good. Well, now I have an Eagle on the team. He didn't even make the team. And there's a lot of people talking about this. And I'm going to hit myself with one of these, like I said again. There's a lot of people talking about this with Huntley. and saying it was a thrown away 5th round pick. And I want to get your thoughts on this in the case, and I'm going to make the point as to why it's not first. There's, I think, 2 things that were going on with this pick. 3 things. Number one, he was probably best player available on the Lions board. Maybe not, but it was definitely also a position of need. It was something where you had injuries, you didn't have a lot of stability, you had a real problem at that position last year, and it feels like it made for a really, really good hedge to pick up Huntley and have him there in the stable. And then you get him in there and you find out, well, he's not that great at pass pro. He's definitely a player that needs to grow. And I feel like we've got the right guys in here, and we're going to sign Adrian Peterson. I think maybe we're just going to go ahead and let him go. And people say, what a wasted pick. I get the idea behind keeping him, right? I get the absolute idea behind picking him, and why, to protect an area of your team that just absolutely smoked donkey Odell cigars last year, and for a number of years previously. The fact, though, that Philadelphia picked him up says that it wasn't necessarily a bad pick, right? Because there's guys 5th round and later that just got cut or made through waivers and nobody even looked twice at him, right? He didn't. There's other people are seeing something there. So it wasn't necessarily a pick of a bad player. It was just he's a victim of circumstance, including Agnew just supposedly showing up, like we talked about. I haven't seen it, but everything points to the fact that somehow Agnew has turned into Superman in that role. He just didn't fill a role anymore, and I think that his lack of ability in pass protection really cost him his spot on the team. What do you think? Is it a wasted 5th round pick, or do you think it made sense in the scheme and the kind of longer term story of the team?
Okay, first of all, I understand why fans fall in love with players that are drafted. It's easy to. They get drafted, you go watch some highlights, or you hear some analysis that's very positive about them, and you fall in love with that player and you want to see them on your team. The Lions have not had the luxury in the past of being able to cut a late round draft pick. We've had to keep all of them, and almost all of them were terrible. Almost all of them on every team are terrible. Very few 5th through 7th round draft picks or undrafted free agents ever make anything of themselves in the NFL. Most of them are out of the league within a year or 2.
Yep.
Like the vast majority. I don't remember the percentages, but it's very high. I am never going to cry about a 5th round pick not working out. That's just a philosophy. What it does say to me is that for once, again, for a first time in a long time, the Lions had the luxury of not feeling like they absolutely had to keep him because they didn't have anyone better. And they felt like they had a better squad without him. I shouldn't say it like that. They felt that they had enough guys that were better than him at what they wanted to do, that they didn't have to feel obligated to keep a late round draft pick. That's a positive place to be, not a negative place to be. Okay, and I hope that Huntley does well. That would be great. But if he's out of the league in a year or 2, or never really makes an impact, how many of you people who were very upset with Bob Quinn are going to remember that? Now, obviously, the opposite could happen, and he could be great, and he could end up, a big deal, and that would suck that we missed out on that. But at the same time, the chances of that happening are much less likely than the alternative.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, there's something to be said where you have enough talent to kick a 5th round pick off the team. That's a great place to be if you're a football team. Now,
Peterson.
If it was
Peterson.
If it was,
I would rather have Peterson than Huntley.
Yeah, if it was a complete turd ball pick and you had turd ball players, is a different story. Could we have spent it somewhere else? Maybe, but I would think about where we were in the draft and where the team was at that point in time and say that's probably what happened. I think it's a victim of circumstance kind of situation.
Yeah, totally.
The other side of it was Abushi. I thought he was going to make the team, and then he didn't. And I was just absolutely like, oh my God, I got 2 of them I got to answer for now. What's going on? I actually huge swings and misses. And no, my man is on the team. And if I think about it from a perspective of depth, he's right behind Jonah Jackson. I'm really happy with that. I like how Jackson's doing, and the fact that he's got that guard position. I like that we got Abouche as a backup, because I think that's just top quality. I mean, when you're looking at your guard, Dahl's got the number 1 spot on the left side, but Stenberg's right behind him, and then you got Jackson right guard as your starter. That's a pretty good draft as far as offensive linemen, and being able to pull them in the 3rd and the 4th round to get up there and play. I feel good about that. So hopefully they stay healthy and no injury. Anything else you want to break down on the practice squad, my friend?
Well, we kept Viz Wizzle around.
Ben
so there's
Schwizzle.
that. Kenny Wiggins is around. It's so weird to see some older vets stay around this year because of the rules at the moment. Jonathan Williams and Kenny Wiggins being on the practice squad seems really bizarre to me. But that's just the way the rules are this year. So
Nada practice squad, he makes it. So we'll see.
Yeah. I should real quick. One guy that we didn't catch on the roster, and I know there were several we didn't catch when we were doing the depth chart. We will come back and talk about all these guys later on. Assuming they do anything of interest, we will get all of them. We just don't have time. But I did want to say it is interesting that Hunter Bryant made it. We were all super high on him as a pass catching tight end UDFA. It's rare for UDFA, like I just said, to make a name for himself, but there's good reason to hope anyway for Bryant that he will have an impact on offense, even if he's not active early on in the season.
All right, and there was, just to mention, I wonder what Penasini thinks about all this Odell talk. I just want to know, everyone, just so you know, if you're playing in our fantasy leagues, any of them, if you see Penasaudi, that would be me. All right. Really quick talk about Fanatics. It's that time of year. You may not be going to the games, not yet at least, but you will be wanting to show off your fandom and your stuff around town. How do you do that? The best way to do that is to go to Fanatics by hitting fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. Head on over there to get whatever gear you want, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, hockey, you name it, college gear, it's all there. It's a big year for college football. Head on over, get your gear, fanatics.detroitlionspodcast.com. They give us a kickback for everything you buy, so if you want to get your jerseys or whatever, that's the way to do it. Thank you, everyone who uses that and goes to town over there. All right, let's talk about home field advantage and COVID. This is really interesting. Oh yeah, and YouTube folks, feel free to hit that super chat. We got you going on. We got something, a little special background action when you use that. All right, let's see. Home field advantage during COVID. This is a really interesting concept, Case. Number one, the whole 70 decibel crowd noise. That just seems pretty low and almost like imperceptible. Although I think they probably don't want a guy working the fader, number one, while it's going on, because that always is cheesy as heck. And then also, right, I think they just want to kind of have a little bit of an atmosphere versus, whatever they can without creating opportunities for Belichick to find a way to circumvent the rules spirit by following the law. And I get that, that's fine, but let me ask you, okay, and I'm just going to make up a situation here. I don't even have to. We play the Packers game 2 of the season, okay? And we have to do, and we're at the Packers, so this maybe would work in their advantage. And they have no crowds because it's the COVID restrictions. What happens though if we wind up playing them in December and crowds are allowed back and you're allowed to have crowd noise and that whole situation? Now we're playing at home. We've got the crowd noise. That really makes it difficult for those split games, the home and aways against your division opponents, and kind of leans on the ability of that home field advantage. I know that wasn't necessarily where you wanted to go with this, but this is one of the things I was thinking about as far as home field advantage may work in the COVID era.
Well, I would be a little bit surprised at this point if you're still seeing the full stadiums that you used to see or that we hopefully will see again in the future. Even if restrictions are lessened, man, I have a hard time believing that this year we'll see full stadiums. But if that happens, then yeah, that does create a bit of a situation. The way I was looking at it was more that this eliminates a lot of home field advantage, and it'll be interesting to see how much home field advantage plays a part in this season compared to a usual season, and see because the typical we'll get into the Lions spread against the Bears in I think that's the next segment. Yeah. But it's not huge, but I don't know whether or not it's even accounting for what would normally be considered home field advantage, because we're not getting the same home field advantage that we would normally get, because a huge part of the home field advantage is the crowd noise.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it affect teams.
The 12th man, they have flags for it in Seattle, right?
It's things like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think this evens the playing field in a lot of ways. The remaining home field advantage, I think, is primarily related to weather and teams that play outside. The teams that play outside may have a slightly larger home field advantage compared to other years. That late in the season, the Packers, I'm trying to think, and the Dolphins would early in the year, maybe, that kind of thing where it's the hot weather, or Denver where they have the altitude stuff. They might have a slightly higher home field advantage compared to other teams, compared to dome teams specifically, because I don't think dome teams really have much at all to speak of as far as home field advantage. There's no crowd influence on the players. There's no crowd influence on the referees. That's all neutralized.
Yeah. That's interesting. The influence on the referees. That I'm excited to see them really pull it out and stuff it in on the Lions fans. Mm-hmm. We'll see what that means. It's interesting though. The home field advantage in the age of COVID, it could really alter things. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays, and we'll see. I think
overall it neutralizes some degree of home field advantage overall.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Whether or not that actually turns out to be true, we'll have to review after we've seen it.
And if that changes the balance later in the season, because they start opening up, maybe you have half full stadiums. If you have a third full, there's still a lot. You can generate more than 70 decibels with that many people in Ford Field, right? And it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Plus the talk and everything else that goes back and forth. They may have just gotten so comfortable with no fan interaction and derision that things could really pull them out of their game. We'll see. Not that I advocate such a thing. All right, let's really quick hit the jersey numbers thing. We've got some numbers for folks. If you didn't do the Fanatics thing early and get your Okudah jersey as number 1, you are going to miss out. It's going to wind up being a limited edition. I think his number is going to change again next year as they shuffle, but we'll see. All right, so the first one, let's talk about ADP. I like that. I like the ADP. I really do. Adrian Peterson is coming in at what number, Case? What number do you think he's going to grab?
I don't remember. I don't.
It's
Chris
the same one he's always had.
Chris told me not to say this, but I don't care about jersey numbers. Sorry, Chris.
You said to talk about it. It's your topic.
I just said we should bring it up because I know other people care about it. I don't.
Oh, for God's sakes. No, it's not 69 in the chat. You just stop that right now. That would be a crappy number someone like Odell would have. No, this is 28. Adrian Peterson is always 28, right? That's his thing. I will say the one thing I love about this is there was the whole joke about Brett Favre, with Brett Favre forever a Viking, right? Just to just grind the gears of those Packers fans. I feel like Adrian Peterson, Purple Jesus, forever a Lion, feels good. All right, so just 30 for Jeff Okudah. We'll see how long that sticks around, how many years he's at 30. I'd still say go for that number 1 jersey if you can. DeAndre Swift at 32. D. Virgin on the practice squad at 36. 41 for Jonathan Williams. Jaron Kearse, 42. he was pretty happy about that too. Jalen Elliott 56, Steve Wertel 54, Jonathan Wynn 69, and 99 Julian Okwara. All right, let's do that. Quick one in the chat. Let me just hit it real quick. Yeah, we'll take calls. 248-782-8384. Give us a ring. 248-782-8384. We'll take your phone calls and interact with you in the way that we always like to do. All right. Next topic. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Anytime you get anything from Amazon, do that. They give us a kickback. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. I'll just say that one more time. We won't do a long kind of commercial or anything. Just help us out and do it. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Anything you buy from Amazon, use that address. It'll take you straight there. No funny stuff. They give us a kickback. You get what you want. Instead of costing more, same price. Takes money out of Bezos' pocket. Boom. Done. Amazon.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Help support us by buying stuff that you buy anyway, because it's America. Buy junk. All right. Moving on. Season predictions. Case, I would get into your season prediction. Riz and I did ours last year, but we have a call coming in right now. It was last week we did. Riz and I did it.
Last year.
Oh, I meant last week. Yeah. Okay, fine. God, you are critical today. All right, let's take a phone call. Phoner. Oh my God. Caller, what's your name? How you doing? How drunk am I?
Hey, this is Chris R.
Hey, Chris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Got quite a bit of stuff onto the site last night, as you know.
Yeah.
Looking forward to dropping some more of that stuff. We've been doing quite a bit this week, so it's been really nice to kind of get back into the swing of things a little bit.
Yeah. We should really talk about that. We got a great quarterbacks article, running backs, and just today dropped a wide receivers article about the Lions, a little bit more in depth than what we talked about here. Goes into a couple further players. Great write-ups by Chris here, and it's all complimentary to the big bunch of shows we got this week for you guys. So we're trying to get some good content out to get us ready for some football, because it's finally freaking here, and COVID ain't gonna stop it. That's great. All right, what do you got, Chris?
So, yeah, and we have the defense one coming up soon, too, I think.
Yep.
And I'm planning on doing one after you guys do the game preview with Riz. So,
nice.
For the Bears game week 1. So, yeah, we got that stuff coming along. But I just wanted to kind of talk about those 4 spots a little bit. And we talked a lot about Jesse James over the last couple of shows.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about TJ Hawkins too, because it feels like he's kind of going under rated a little bit this year. And I feel like people are kind of sleeping on him a little bit. I know he was the number 8 overall pick last year, so expectations are still pretty high. But I mean, there's a lot of people who are talking about him, and like, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of growth there, and we saw last year. One thing that I was noticing is a lot of guys are taking steps forward with the new coaches. Like Stafford worked a lot better with Sean Ryan last year. We saw Kyle Kasky work with guys like Kerryon and Bo and Ty Johnson a little bit on their development and things like that. So I wonder if the coaching change at tight end will help TJ Hawkinson a little bit with his development, plus, of course, being healthy and stuff like that. And it's just the natural second-year growth factor, too. Because he was not himself last year. Whether it be the injury, whether it be the rookie thing, like, he is not a guy who's bottom 10 in catch rate amongst all pass catches. Like, that's not who he was at Iowa. That's not who he looked like on tape. So yeah. I really don't think that he's going to have anywhere close to as bad of years he had last year.
I've heard nothing but awesome, amazing things about him all off season. Either in terms of his development, in terms of his health, and in terms of his play during practice. So I definitely think that it's reasonable to buy in some hype on Hawkinson stepping up and taking that very typical first to second year jump for tight end, especially one of that caliber.
And like Tracy Walker is probably one of, if not my favorite players on the team. My very first article I wrote for DLP was actually on Tracy Walker, and he was absolutely destroying Tracy Walker in those early practices to the point we literally benched him. We moved him to the second team. He was like our best defensive player in the last 2 years. So yeah, I'm all in on the Hawkins hype, but I'm definitely really looking forward to seeing what he can do, even more so than Kenny and Marv and everything like that.
I think there's two places for Hawkinson this year, right? And I'm thinking to the coverage of camp, and it's been nothing, not too high, not too low, right, on Hawkinson. Some mention of his ankle still bothering him. We saw his body and how it had changed as a result of NFL strength and conditioning over the offseason, and holy crap, he got huge. He put on like 107 pounds straight muscle. I made up that number, folks. Don't take that and have an argument with your uncle about that, because you'll be wrong. But he put on a ton of straight muscle. This is one of those things where it's a real fork. Either he's going to get absolutely killed, or he's going to be absolutely a superstar this year. I don't think there's a middle road for him. A lot like Ebron had ahead of him. If Ebron could have performed, I think people would have celebrated the hell out of him. But the problem is he didn't. Right, and we need to see Hawkinson perform this year. He has all the tools, he has all the skills. He's got way better hands than Ebron ever did. So my anticipation is that he's going to really show up. That ankle shows up again though, and people are going to get real mad real quick at his production. I want to go into something really quick, Chris, before we pop off, because we were talking about it.
I just have one.
Well, we were talking about this in the Slack, and I want to hit on this really quick. The idea of Belichick's kind of rules for players, right? And I want you to reiterate the ones for tight end, because I think this is really, really important for what we're looking at when we think about TJ Hawkinson and what he means to the team, and kind of where maybe Patricia picks something up here. So if you don't mind, just pop into that really quick.
Okay, yeah. So I was looking at, it's actually, for those of you guys who are familiar in the scouting community, one of the notable NFL Network analysts, his name is Daniel Jeremiah. He has a YouTube channel, and the first two videos he posted were basically rigging notes from Bill Belichick's 1991, like traits that they look for, scouting notes, player comparisons, things like that. It's only about 15 minutes or so between the two parts. There's one part for offense, one part for defense. And yeah, it was really interesting to kind of watch and go through some of those things. But the one thing that they noted got tight end, now again, this is like over 20 years old now, so some of the stuff may have changed a little bit as time has evolved and so on. But when you talk about how blocking should never be a reason for you to not like a elite caliber receiver. And the most important things that they looked for in a tight end when Belichick was in Cleveland was ability to run after the catch, add yards after the catch. Obviously, catching the football is important and a piece of that. But really adding to the offense after the catch point and extending those plays down the field. So it's all about the athleticism, the athletic ability, the ability to extend plays, and never to really let blocking specifically. You can have a second blocker on the field with your tight end too. If you need an additional blocker on the field, then yeah, obviously you have the capability for a fullback. And you need to be competent at blocking. Like, you can't just be a liability falling on his feet every play. But as long as he stays engaged, he does his job, he takes out his defender, stays on his feet, that's enough of blocking asset to where it's worth having them on the field and utilizing their receiving ability specifically to stretch the field.
Yeah.
And attack the middle of the field of the defense.
The net on that is don't worry about the blocking. You're okay with your number one tight end not blocking well. Your number two tight end has to, right? But your number one tight end doesn't need to block well. If they can pass, their number one job is to catch the ball. And I think in the Belichick world with Gronk, he had the best of all worlds because he had a guy that could do some decent blocking and also could catch the ball and move on the field and was excelled in that area. I think that's where we are with TJ Hawkinson. I wouldn't get down on his blocking because I don't think blocking is as high on the requirements list for a tight end for Matt Patricia or Bob Quinn as some people might think it is. Number 2 tight end needs to block, and that's where we're looking at Jesse James this year. Yep. That's one of the things that he really needs to step up to be able to do to make all this work. Daryl Bevell may blow that whole concept up, but we'll see how that goes. All right.
And the other thing, too, I want to add on Hawkinson real quick first, is that I really think the addition of DeAndre Swift is going to be huge, just absolutely huge for his development. Because a lot of the concepts that these teams are running are relying on the RB creating for the tight end and vice versa. We see that with New England, with like all their pass catching backs, Rex Burkhead, James White, and so on, working off of Gronk. I really think that's going to be huge, having DeAndre Swift as a pass catching threat, really helping Gronk out and create that open space in the middle of the field.
Yeah. Yep. All right, Chris, I'm going to let you go. We got a couple other coming in. I'm going to grab one real quick here, okay, if you don't mind? All right, thanks, brother. Thanks for calling, man. All right, new caller. Hey, caller, what's your name? How much? I haven't watched Ozark enough. What are they selling down there? Is it methamphetamine?
This is the land of Oz, baby. You got everything.
How you doing, Brandon? Good to have you on again, man.
All right. Not too late?
Never too late. Up? Never. A wizard is always right on time.
Oh. And as long as I ain't Dorothy or the Cowardly Lion, anyway.
We'll make you Dorothy if you don't have a topic to talk about.
Hey, I'll just be the flying monkeys. It's fine.
Hey, listen. I put this scenario out. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter or not, but Detroit closes up with Minnesota in Detroit.
Yeah. Yep.
So here's your scenario, and I believe this is going to draw a Saturday game, if anything. It's the locked up battle, trying to get a playoff spot, maybe a divisional title. Minnesota's in the town, and you know that Adrian Peterson doesn't have that many yards to beat Barry, to pass Barry up. So here you go. Minnesota is playing in Detroit. Barry is on the sideline. AP may have only 50, 60 yards to pass him, and he's going to do it against his old team, and Detroit goes on for the division win. You think that happens?
I love that story. If that happens, I will. I don't know. I will find something in the prize closet to send you.
and get this. By then, maybe the stadium is allowed with a full attendance of fans. That place will absolutely go berserk, man.
Yeah. It's funny. I'll tell you something that's really crazy. If you told everybody on February 1st that the world would be shut down in less than a month and a half and nobody was going anywhere, everyone would have laughed at you and said, that's insane. You can't do it. Right? Yeah. But you're at a point right now where it's September and you're talking about, hey, yeah, we're going to have a full Ford Field by January 3rd. No one believes there's any way you can do it. You know what I mean? Nobody knows how to open this place back up or whether we can or not. So we'll see. I would love a full Ford Field against the Vikings for that whole story. That would really, really be it would be great on a whole number of levels. That would be great.
Oh, my goodness.
Now,
yeah,
that would
be something else.
Really quick.
That was pretty much all I brought up except for the when I emailed you. Now, I know you guys live in Tampa and in Minnesota, so you didn't see the Fox 2 Detroit. They put the Billy Sims rookie game against the Rams on Sunday, and there was a few guys were tweeting about it, and I asked them, did they play Monty Clark's interview at the beginning of the season, before the game? And they said yes, and one guy I was talking to, I said, do you see any similarities of 40 years later with the Lions today? And he said, oh, man, this is unbelievable. Monty Clark, when he's being interviewed, he said he thought that team was better than just 2-14. And he said, with the addition of Billy Sims and our defense coming together, and we had a host of injuries all last year before, including our quarterback. Well, now we aren't getting Billy Sims, but maybe our running game might finally produce and could produce up to 2,000 yards, just like Sims and Pussy did that.
And don't sleep on Swift. Just I mean, we don't have a number 20, do we? But don't sleep on Swift. Just
No,
you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. I think between the three backs, Johnson, Swift, and possibly Peterson, all taking different turns. Maybe one guy's out because he's got a hamstring, and then the other guy, just steps in for him. And then you add in Ty Johnson for his different things that he can do. If they can get the amount of yardage that they did back then, plus, of course, their passing game, and I also think this, if Hunter can actually pass catch like they think he can, I'm looking for him and Hawkinson to be the Pettigrew and Scheffler that Stafford had back in 2011. People forget about how good those two tight ends were when they
made a lot of plays. They made a lot of plays for sure.
Yeah, Pettigrew was great before his injury. Absolutely. I mean, before the injury, he just looked like he was the guy that we thought he was, and then after that, it turned out.
He was an end zone threat.
Yeah.
Remember, he was the guy that caught the ball that Stafford threw with a dislocated left shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't Calvin. And I tell you what, Pettigrew was always the first down guy. And they couldn't cover him, man.
Yep.
So, but that's my thoughts on that. And so, go ahead. I'm all for the Kool-Aid. And I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and go with the prediction that I always do, and I think it can be more reasonable that could happen is 12-4 and 5-1 in the division.
Wow. Okay, now you might be drinking the old Kool-Aid that had cocaine in it.
Now, let's not go that far.
No, I know you got a government job. You wouldn't do that.
You guys still remember Blue Moon ice cream up there?
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go.
I'm
having a Blue Moon shake.
There you go. All right, a resident historian. Thanks, Brandon.
Take care.
Love you, man. What a great he is a great storyteller. He really is. And when you want he is a mountain of history of the Lions. So that's good stuff. All right. We'll go from his 12-4. I don't know if you can top that, Case. What does your season prediction look like for this team?
I know it's shocking.
Oh God, I don't have the fence one lined up.
Excuse me. 8-8 is where I have us. But as always, it just depends so much on health of us and health of our division rivals. It is so easy to see how both. I'm not overly concerned about the Bears. We're going to talk about them soon. Their ceiling is as a 8-win team. But if the Vikings and Packers were both to stay healthy, they could both be very good teams this year. They could both win a 10 to 11 plus games. I think you'll see regression from the Packers statistically, just because there's every indication that everything that happened to them last year is the kind of thing that results in a downturn in record. Doesn't mean they'll be a worse team, just means they won't. It's tough to win that many games 2 years in a row by that narrow of a margin.
Ted's got 9-7 in the chat. That's where I'm at.
But it's easy to see how either or both of those teams could lose a couple players and be in real bad shape on either side of the ball. Imagine Zadarius Smith goes out. The Packers all of a sudden have no pass rush. That
put Jordan Love in
defense. The same thing with Danielle Hunter.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the Lions aren't in the same position, because there are some positions we can afford to work depth a little bit, running back being one of them. Obviously, they purposely built for that. There are some positions for us where I'm terrified. If we lose if we lose Shelton, God, we're gonna be struggling to hold down the middle of the defensive line. But that being true of all three teams, it's easy to see how any three of those teams, to me, could come out the victor if they're the healthiest.
Yep. My guy Aaron's got him going 10-6, but really with this team, you can go anywhere from 5-11 to 12-4. Yeah. Work your dollars at 7 wins, and that's not. And the coaches stay. There's no reason to be sorry. Dollar. I mean, you're right in there. You're right in there for possibility and plausibility. Let me ask you, Case, if you were doing the Vegas thing, we did this last week, Riz and I. What's your number where you wouldn't touch an over and under
on wins?
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. I mean, obviously, it depends on the size of the bet. But say it's a sizable amount for me. Say it's like a something that I would feel impacted by if I lost.
Yep.
I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't go over 10 wins.
So
I probably wouldn't go over 9.5.
Oof. Okay. So Riz's number was 7.5. Where he was like, I wouldn't bet on that at all. I couldn't pick one or the other, right? I went 8.5 because I figured we're gonna get 8 wins out of this team. I feel like I that risk level is okay.
Well, I mean,
but beyond that,
but I'm a risk taker when I bet. So like, fair enough. If I was, Jesus, it really just would depend on how much I was betting. Like, put my life savings on it. I'm not going over, I'm not going over 7.5 either. So
I want to mess his name up on purpose. Crappy Chanel. He's at 6-10. Yeah, 10 has me pounding the Kool-Aid for sure. I mean, I'm to the point of diabetes, really. If we get 10 wins out of this team this year, 10 wins will absolutely crush the division. If a team gets 10 wins in the NFC North,
that's the way it looks right now.
Yeah.
It looks like the NFC North is probably a 10-win division.
Yep. All right, let's talk really quick. All kinds of great shirts and merchandise available. DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Hit the merch link up in the main menu or the hamburger button if you're on your phone. Got some really great stuff. We got some FTP shirts out there. We got some really cool Lions shirts with the triangle diamond, pretty cool logo. Some other really good stuff in there as well. Mugs, hats. The hats are really cool. Polo shirts, all kinds of stuff. Check it out. DetroitLionsPodcast.com, and then click on the merch thing. Anything you get is straight to help the show, and it's high quality stuff. None of it's garbage. I actually paid for samples for everything before we put it in the store to make sure that it was long lasting, high quality crap. Because there's nothing worse than feeling ripped off. So there you go. DetroitLionsPodcast.com, and you can hit the merch thing. Let's see. Okay, we wanted to talk about a quick preview of the Bears Lions. Now remember, Friday we're going to have Riz and Tony Ortiz from 97.1. We're going to go on deep on this preview of the Bears game, but we got Case now, so we want to give Case's thoughts on what to look for, what to expect out of the Chi-Town Bears. The Bears.
Yeah. Well, it's official now. We're going to be facing Trubisky, and I know that shouldn't scare Lions fans, but does because he's beaten us 3 times. But I think that is a superstitious way to look at it, and I'm never going to do that. And I understand why other people do, but I'm not that guy. I'm not the superstitious guy. Okay. I would rather face Mitch Trubisky, especially considering we have faced him and know him now. Just because he's won 3 against us doesn't mean that's a trend that's going to continue.
Right.
We have struggled in the past against mobile quarterbacks. My concern then would be that that's what they're going to lean on in that game, is trying to get him out of the pocket. But it would always also depend on how heavily they lean into that and how much our defensive scheme has changed and evolved, and we don't know the answers to that.
Right.
I think we have a real good chance. I think the 1.5, and is this where I should mention Jeff Jeff had an article out talking about how on Lions Wire, so go check it out. We are favored by 1.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
And as I mentioned before, I don't know if that's even accounting for the normal home field advantage or not, since that is no longer a factor. So I don't know how Vegas is taking home field advantage into account this year, because usually home field advantage is based on more or less a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So we're favored 1.5 at home against them, and I think that's very fair. I think the Bears are going to have some real shit games this year, more than we are. That's not to say we won't also have some, but
I'll tell you, when I think about this game, this is a crucial game. The game with where this was a Bears game where you came back with
I'm toast
in the post game, right? You just literally were passed out cold. That was a game that we're absolutely supposed to win. We are absolutely supposed to win this. I know week 1 is crazy and goofy and fool's gold and all those kinds of things, but this is a game that the Detroit Lions,
anything can happen week 1. Anybody who
absolutely have to win. And if they don't, I would say immediately you start looking at your coach and your GM's jobs and start thinking about it. That's how important this game 1 is. And it's terrible that it is this way, but this is just the way it falls in this division this year with the quality of the Bears and the situation we're in. If we lose this game, I have a feeling that Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn
get what you fucking deserve.
Sorry, I had to throw a joker in there. Will get what they deserve. They will be on the hot seat immediately. This is a game that they have to win. This is a must-win game. And if they win this game, week 2 at the Packers, I don't think is much a big deal. I really don't think it's as big of a deal for the coaches and the GM. But this game at home, opener, is as much as week 1 is stupid, they have to win this. Because if they come out and win this, a lot of other things can happen in the season. But you lose to a crappy team to start off the season, the flames are just going to light up everywhere around Ford Field, Allen Park, the whole thing. And I think Sheila Ford Hamp is not going to be willing to take a long ride on that train.
I agree with you from a fan, like the fan base feels that way perspective, but I never put that much stock in week 1.
Yeah,
I've
there's
seen
just too much history here with these folks.
On week 1 of any week I've ever seen. So
there's always the asterisk there. If something's stupid, if it's a massive breakdown on the refs, if a comet falls from the sky through the roof of Ford Field, right? There's things that can happen that can be extenuating circumstances, but I think on the whole, and when you think of the 80-20 world, that is the case for these guys. I think it's important for the players too. I think if they don't come out of that one with a win, everything they've worked for and all the momentum they built up at this point is at risk. This first game, I think this is where everyone buys into the new coach Patricia, this draft that we had, the whole thing. It all happens right here, and I feel like they lose a whole lot of credibility if they lose this game against that Bears team at home.
Maybe, but I think that you can survive a week or two, and if they were to come back, and this got brought up in the chat, would you rather lose to the Packers or the Bears? If they lost to the Bears in week 1 and managed to come back and beat Green Bay in Green Bay, we'd all be feeling on top of the world come week 3.
Man, I don't know about on top of the world. I think there would be a great number of detractors out there, and that's one of the problems, is that inconsistency of the team. We need to see that consistency. You have to beat the Bears. Look at week 2 at the Packers, I think is
I want to
win it. Don't get me.
If we win that game, that's a much more valuable win.
Much more impressive victory. But that loss is trash if you lose at home against the Bears in the week opener. I'm just telling you, that is a kick square between the begonias.
It's week 1. I don't understand. Okay. That's my personal feeling. Mm-hmm. I don't think week 1 is that important.
We can fight when we meet each other.
There's a long fucking season ahead of us, hopefully.
No, we can fight next time we see each other about this one, because I think it's worth it. All right. With that being said, I know you want to talk a little bit about the Bears as we kind of get into the preview. Let's just go ahead and do this whole thing where we take it around the division.
Don't fuck around.
really, really love that. It's just great. Okay, take us around the division case, and you can start with the Bears, like we love to do.
Yeah, no, like I said, Mitch Trubisky starting, I think that's good news for us. I know that not everybody agrees with that. That's okay. I am concerned about their pass rush. There is absolutely reason to be concerned about their pass rush. That might be the only thing I'm super concerned about.
Yeah.
Which is why I like us to win the game. It's not they still unless and listening to rumors out of Bears camp this offseason has been interesting because you go back and forth on people saying Trubisky still sucks, Trubisky's done so much work, Trubisky still sucks, Nick Foles is not taking command, whatever it is. It's been a mix of mostly negative with those, like, but Trubisky's such a hard worker. So it's hard to see that offense with that bad offensive line and that bad run game overall. I'm not saying their running backs are bad, but their offensive line is so bad that it does not help them produce a run game. We should be familiar with that as a team that has had terrible run blocking for many years in the past decade. It's tough to see them being able to put up points unless, like I said, we let Mitch Trubisky off the hook. If we let Mitch Trubisky off the hook and let him run on us, then that's one thing. But getting burned by that as many times as we have, it's hard not to imagine that they haven't, especially it being the first game of the year and the first game that they put in major film time on, it's hard not to see them taking a little bit better control of that situation than they have the last few times they faced him.
I'd like to take a
also
hot take.
worth mentioning, I think they lost the last two games against him without Stafford. So
I'd like to do a Karnak visionary future hot take from this game. And it's going to be, we got no pass rush. We can't rush. We can't rush. We can't rush because I don't think we're going to try to put a whole boatload of pressure on Trubisky. I think we're going to do more containment on him than we are trying to get at and crush him in the middle because he's so mobile. So
give
please, folks.
Jesus Christ, you can't throw the ball, and our secondary is good enough.
If you can get him to run left, forget it. So, folks, please don't. No matter what happens after this, please don't jump on the no pass rush bandwagon after this game against the Bears. I think there's a little bit of method to the madness on that. We may not have a pass rush, but I don't think using the Bears game is the way you're going to find that out. There will be people that have a freak out about that, though. That's my future view of what we'll see after Sunday. Go ahead. Win or lose. Go ahead.
I do think we win. I think the 1.5 spread is more or less accurate. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game, but I would take us in a 24-21 type victory.
I'll give it a close game because it is the first game of the season, but I think the difference between the two teams is significant enough that it shouldn't be a close game. But it is the first game of the season, so that happens, and it's COVID era, no preseason and all that kind of stuff. So I'm down with that, but definitely not a loss. Definitely not a loss. I would expect with the talent levels of the two teams to see
we shouldn't have a terrible
game.
time covering their wide receivers, their tight ends, their so
That's
their
right.
pass game won't be effective unless we allow them to establish the run game first.
Yep. All right, so moving on, who'd you like to go to next? You want to go to the FTPs?
Well,
or
let's
the
just do
Vikings?
both of them first because both of them at the same time since they're playing against each other,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
That's the schedule here.
Yep. Who do you want to win that one?
That's a good question.
I'd love a tie to come out of that for some reason.
Well, I mean, yes, in a perfect world. I've gone back and forth all off season on which team I think is the better team. And in theory, I would like the better team to lose. But, damn, that is a tough question. Okay, I think I would rather see the Vikings win because I have come down significantly in how I felt about them a month ago recently. Just due to some interesting opinions I've heard from the outside. I want to throw a shout out to the Bottom Line View on YouTube. Everybody who's listening, go over to the Bottom Line View right now. He has an NFC North breakdown. It's an hour long. It's great. I like the guy a lot. Hopefully we should tag him on Twitter after this. Maybe we can talk to him at some point in the near future. I've been very impressed with what he's been doing this offseason. He's also he's a Patriots fan and now a de facto Lions fan, it seems like. So there might be a little bit of bias towards us in there, but that's okay. I'm enjoying watching it anyway. But I liked what he had to say about the Vikings and some of the stuff that he thought was, a reason for regression from them, more so than I had seen previously. I think I'd rather see the Vikings win it. Bottom line view, not bottom line review, I think.
Okay.
I'm seeing that in the chat. But anyway, I'm so interested to see how quickly and whether or not the Vikings defense maintains exactly the level they were at prior to the end of at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Both of those teams made the playoffs. They both looked very impressive at times, even in the playoffs, but they've both lost players of significance. And now Minnesota obviously went out and signed Ngoku. That looks like a must-win type move. That looks like a move they're feeling the heat, they're feeling the pressure, and if they don't get it done this year, they're in trouble, which they are from a cap perspective. They have barely any cap money going in next year, and obviously we know there's a lot of things you can do about that. You can cut players and make space by renegotiating contracts and things like that. But we also know as Lions fans that the further you kick the can down the road, the bigger the fall off is going to be eventually.
Yep.
And that's the situation the Vikings are about to face. So if they fail this year to make it deep in the playoffs, make it to the Super Bowl, they're in a world of hurt.
Let me ask you what the question I asked Risden. How much of a hot seat do you think Zimmer and Spielman are in right now? It's weird. Just at its face, I didn't think that. But the way they're running this cap into a wall feels like they have to do it or die right now.
Yeah.
And, Zimmer, I know he's well liked, but they just haven't had the success that I feel like the team with their quality should have had.
I still think that because they have a good chance at going, 8-9 wins this year, I don't think Zimmer would be fired if they didn't, and then it would depend a lot on next year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, short of going 5-11, I still don't think he would be fired next year. I think that they would give him another chance to rebuild because I do think they like him. Speaking to Vikings fans as often as I do, there's a general sense of trust long term in him, even if they haven't always obviously been thrilled with the results of the seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the Marvin Lewis Cincinnati thing kind of going for him, where I think they don't want to rock the boat. Mm-hmm. They're more willing to stick it around, which I realize is a foreign concept to Lions fans, but
neither one's won a Super Bowl, so we don't know which one is the right way to go yet. So we'll see.
And then I honestly think Zimmer is probably a better head coach than LaFleur. So I think that is a big concern for the Packers, and I still think that everything the Packers did this offseason was a little bit folly in terms of producing now. Maybe LaFleur thinks that he can outlast Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I realize that's probably just pure speculation on my point, and that he doesn't actually want it to be a bad year for Rodgers to go and him to continue on. They'd probably love to win the Super Bowl, obviously, but there are so many small problems around that team that I think they build up in a big way.
It's basically because I feel like you're absolutely right with your Zimmer is better than LaFleur. I think LaFleur is going to get exposed with Gute Kunst. Sorry, I did a little German there. As the general manager, because after seeing what he did in the draft, it's like, LaFleur is not going to have maybe the talent that makes him look good like he used to. And you could very soon see a dumpster fire as Aaron Rodgers kind of wades off into the sunset here. And they're stuck with Jordan Love and a coach who isn't that great, in my personal opinion. You could see some serious turnover in Green Bay here in a year or two. And I feel like Zimmer, I feel like the same way. The way they're acting tells me they feel the hot seat in Minnesota. Fans love them. But it's been like 4 appearances, but only 2 wins in the playoffs. They just can't freaking seal the deal. It's like this kind of blue balled situation for them. I think that if I'm management at some point, I say the words, and they're horrible words to hear anymore. But 9-7 isn't good enough. You know what I mean? And then you got to say we're better than this and pull, and then the cap destruction, everything that just crumbles around them. It's a couple of years, and it feels like the Packers and the Vikings are going to have this situation kind of happen at the exact same time. I would hate to be 100% honest, I would hate to be in the search for a new coach and GM at the same time they are, because there's only going to be one winner in that year, and you could say the Bears are kind of in the same boat. I mean, you could have the whole NFC North looking for coaches and GMs at the same time, and I don't know if that's any good.
I mean, I hope it's not us. I hope it's the rest of them.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think I would rather see Minnesota win that game, but boy, it goes back and forth.
Yeah.
It could either way. I could find a positive and a negative for it. So
okay, we can go with that. All right, so that's around the division. I think that's got us pretty well caught up. Big show, over an hour and a half today. More on Friday. Don't forget 4:15 Eastern PM. Get your bells on. We'll have Tony Ortiz from 97.1. We'll have Jeff the Riz Risden and me. Sunday we've got the post game show immediately following the Lions game. It'll be possibly Case and Sandman, of course, will be here, and we'll have a breakdown of what happened in that very, 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 very first game. In the meantime, hey, help us out with those affiliate links and all that stuff, and tune in, tell your friends. That's actually the biggest compliment you can provide is to tell your friends about the show and get them listening and watching too. And we appreciate all you folks who have done that. Lastly, Theo, I got your email. I'm going to ping you in a little bit because everything's looking okay to me, so I'd love to hear what you're seeing. All right, I'll ping you back on the email. With that, we're going to call it a week. Remember, the show needs your involvement. Use the comments in the subreddit to give your feedback. We appreciate that. And don't forget about us on the Patreon. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get in there. Little as $1 a month. You get access to the Slack. And I'm not joking. No, we've heard, you heard it last year, the whole thing. It is the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. Throw away Facebook. Throw away Reddit. Throw away all the different sites and their chats and all that. This is literally the place to be. Let's see. Don't check us out on Facebook. Yes, do check us out on Facebook. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. Instagram at Detroit Lions Podcast, and on the Twitter machine at DET Lions Podcast. The very best place to see Case
with no pants on.
Yes. All right. Hey, work your dollar. It's Friday and Sunday. Don't wait till next week. You get 2 other chances to see us. Give us a call via Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, or call us on the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. Also, be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com and subscribe to the podcast so we can come in your ears automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, and no problems, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.